Hi guys. So now we need to get serious. We need to go through the details which are really important. And we are going to cover topics and information which is going to help you with your project management job or project management certification, which is PMP certification in this case. So whatever is the reason you are doing this course, you need to start paying attention. In this video, we are going to cover the framework of project management. These are key components of project management. Without these, you can't have sound project management. These components are project life cycle, project phase, project gate, project management processes, project management process group, project management knowledge areas. And don't worry, we have covered all of these in our course, and we will talk about all of the knowledge areas and process groups in detail. Now I know it's easier said than done. So I know so much information could be overwhelming and very hard to digest. But we will move step by step, and remember, there are many others like us who have already done it. So there is nothing in this course which can stop us from doing it, even if it can be overwhelming at times. So we are going to do well in this course and in project management in general. So without any delay, let's start with project life cycle. Every project can be divided into certain life cycles. Each life cycles will have its own set of activities. It's like a workflow where activities happens in a sequence. You cannot change that sequence. Let's take example of a software development project. We have a company which is struggling with one of its software. They need to change it. So the first step would be to identify and acknowledge this problem. Usually, it happens when a stakeholder, internal in this case, someone like an end user, they can report this as a bottleneck, or the company itself can hire external consultant who can review the company's softwares and practices and come up with a list of issues which are affecting the company's performance. So in this case, internal or external stakeholders, the first step would be to identify this issue. Program manager needs some kind of business justification to justify this project, because remember, project mean cost. So now program manager will ask someone to create a business case document justifying the cost of the project, and of course it will also have the necessary information about the change or some document to justify this change, because any change will mean cost, and we need a proper business case, business reason to justify that kind of cost. So, and this is not the only activity which we are doing in cycle, because as I said, there are certain set of activities. So usually program manager will delegate someone to create this business case. Now there will be meetings, identify appropriate stakeholders, and all of that will happen within this phase, in this cycle. So there are more than one thing happening, and of course there will be certain variation based on the individual company and its practices, but largely you can assume that business case formation, stakeholder management, uh, corporate approval for sponsorship, for funding, these things are minimum activities which are needed for step 1 here. And it is in this cycle where program manager will usually appoint the project manager. Then they will move to cycle 2, which is organizing and preparing the project. So at this stage, there is a documentation, there is approval for the project. In cycle 1, they could have also done a high level estimation based upon their initial understanding of the change, because they needed something as ballpark, as placeholder. So let's say they got a funding approved for 100,000 USD, US dollar. Now they have a understanding, there's a tolerance that it could go up and down by 10%. But in step 2, they need to get more information, and they need to fine tune their estimation to make sure that there are no surprises. If everything is within range, then it's fine. But If it is moving beyond the tolerance limit, then they need to again go back to the sponsor and see if they can get additional funding. So all of that, along with getting the logistical support, because organizing and preparation here basically means that they are also going to acquire the resources needed to implement this project. So let's say they are going to use certain tools like Jira or VSTS, Microsoft VSTS, or project management tool. Then they also need human resource. So they will identify those human resources which are going to work for the project. So all of that is happening here. At this stage, they are not executing the project, they are not developing the project, but they are organizing and preparing the project plan. So if you have heard about project plan, they are developed in step 2 in this project life cycle. And after they complete these activities, they move to the third cycle, which is the carry out the work. So this cycle usually covers, I think, more than 50% of most projects. Basically, this is the implementation phase where you are actively working on the requirements, getting the development done, testing, and all those kind of things are happening here. So this is your core project work. And then, of course, the ending the project. All companies, all industries have certain specified procedures to end a project. Let's say in case of software projects, there will be a code freeze time. So usually it could be 2 to 3 weeks before the production deployment date. So that if any change needs to be done after code freeze date, then special approvals are needed. So all of that, if any project demonstration is needed before deployment, this is the stage when that is done. So all the formalities which are needed to end a project are done here. But all of this, the cycle 1, 2, 3, 4, so all the activities you do here, what you do, how you do, depends upon something which is called development life cycle. Development life cycles are basically predictive or adaptive. In simple terms, waterfall or agile. If projects are small, uncertainty is really low, requirements are clear, then usually waterfall is the preferred way to go forward. Let's say 40 to 80 hours effort, maybe 2 weeks. Changes are not much. In that case, there is no point in having all those scrum calls and sprints and planning. But if there is a lot of uncertainty, requirement is not clear, which is usually the case with bigger project. Let's say it's a 3 month long project, there are a lot of system changes. Now in these cases, even the end user will have a very high level information, high level ideas. So if you ask them and the requirements, by the time they see complete project, their idea will be very different. So in these projects, requirements keep on evolving. Changes are constantly coming. So in those cases, agile, these kind of methodologies are preferred, and that's why in those projects, adaptive is preferred. So depending upon whether you select predictive or adaptive, that is waterfall or agile, cycle 1, 2, 3, 4 can overlap each other, because in adaptive, in each sprint we are spending time on planning, getting the resources and the development. So it's like each sprint is a kind of mini project, whereas in waterfall everything happens in its specified cycle, in its specified phase. So things are very segregated there. And it is a decision of project management group. So not just the project manager, usually everybody, senior management, stakeholders, all of them are involved in deciding if they need to go with agile or waterfall. But yes, eventually the buck stop with project management group. They are responsible for it. And then we have the project phase. Project phase is basically just as in cycle we were doing multiple activities, there were a group of activities being done in each cycle. Here it is slightly different. Project phase are dedicated phase where specific activities are done. So if we are in a design phase, it means we are into the requirement gathering and solution development. If we are in the development or coding phase, we are actually coding, or if let's say it's a construction project, so construction will be going on. So whatever you are trying to do, there will be a specific phase, and you will do only that. Now, of course, for practical purpose, additional activities will always happen in real world scenario, but usually these phases are dedicated towards specific activities, and they are also named appropriately to reflect that. And as I mentioned, these are the attributes which each phase can have. So it's all part of your project management plan. And then we have the project gate. Project gate is usually held at the end of the project. So it's like, go no go decision. Stakeholders, end users can also review the changes, can have some kind of demonstration for them to see the real changes, and then they may decide if it is worth to promote those changes. Now, of course, in many industry, this phase is always a go, and they usually propose changes because they have already built something which is huge, and they cannot decide to simply abandon it. But in case of software projects, you will usually see cases where after demonstration, end user may realize that this is not what they expected, or this is not what they want, so they may simply decide to abandon the project. Of course, it doesn't mean that it happens with every second project, but point is, if needed, the projects can be cancelled, or if they are promoted, they can still be rolled back. So that's it for now. There are few more key components which we need to cover, which I will do in the next video. Thank you.